On your 17th birthday, you signed a professional contract and you actually went on to make your debut alongside George Best. Mm-hmm. What was that moment like for you, playing in that team? Did you feel a little bit intimidated by the legendary status of the players that were in that team that day, or were you quite comfortable?
I didn't actually know Helena was playing that day until 11 o'clock on the Saturday morning. I was in digs in Stratford. And on a Friday night in them days, you used to have, before the derby, they had a mini derby, reserves, United Reserves v City Reserves on a Friday night. And I went to the Cliff on the Friday. Big Bill Folks was the manager of the reserve team at that day. And I'm coming down the steps to go into the dressing room, and Big Bill stopped me and said, tomorrow, report for the first team. Make sure you wear a collar and tie, and make sure you're on time. So that's all he said. Just honestly, amazing. That's all he said. So I go into the changing room. I train that day, thinking that I'm going to play that night. And I must admit, in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to help out Jack Crumpton with the kit or whatever. Just go along for a bit of experience.
You can't imagine.
With the first team.
Imagine.
Not in a million years did I think.
Yeah, you just can't imagine. Like if a young player now was told, Palestra yesterday was in the first team squad at PSG. You can't imagine him going, yeah, maybe I'm just going to be helping put the kit out. Like,
honestly, son, in them days, that's where it was, because there was one substitute or whatever, 12 people went, and that's that. And I remember getting the bus from Stratford, Chester Road, to Old Trafford, walking down Warwick Road, thinking, not in a million years I'm going to play. And Frank O'Farrell called me into his office and said that Dennis had missed fitness test. He's not playing. You're starting today. And that's all he said to me. And we went to Davy Hume Golf Club for our pre-match meal and then drove to Main Road. That's the way the Saturday morning was that I found out that I was playing.
I was just going to ask you then, what was your thoughts walking out on the pitch? Was you nervous?
I mean, I've never heard a noise like it in my life, you know, and when you walk out and it's just the roar and you see the red and you see the blue, it was amazing. And just a fantastic experience, that, especially the game finishing 3-3, 6 goals, end-to-end stuff was unbelievable.
Talk us through your goal.
You can elaborate.
Starts on the right-hand side. I actually... Big Steve James centre half gives the ball to me on the right hand side, and my own half I pass it inside to Bestie. Bestie's running away for a bit. I just keep on running. Bestie then plays it to Brian Kidd on the right hand side. Bestie runs into the box. Kiddo costs it in. Comes to Best, who tries to turn. Tony Book pulls Bestie back. It's going to be a penalty, but I'm just actually following up. Bestie can't get the ball. I follow up. Left footer past Big Joe Corrigan. So I ran out of the ground by the time I get back just in time for kickoff. Unbelievable feeling.
Yeah.
In your debut.
And you went on to score in your first 4? Is that right?
Yeah, first 4 games. Yeah, because Brian Kidd then got injured in that day. Dennis came back against Spurs. Our home game, my home debut against Spurs, 3-1. I scored 1. Dennis got 2. And then we went to Southampton. We beat Southampton 5-2. Bestie got 3. I scored and Brian Kidd scored. So the first 4 games was unbelievable.
Not a bad start, is it?
It's not bad.
At 17, no.
17.
Yeah.
But it's there's a from a few of the people we've talked to, a few people have had a similar start. Ryan Giggs made his debut against City. Arthur made his debut against City.
I was thinking that
and
earlier.
also very young. Do you think, is it some sort of management we'll throw them into a real tough one and see how they get on?
So I mean, at this football club over the years, right from the Busby days, age was never a problem.
Yeah.
As Maisie will know, age was never a problem. If you're good enough, you're old enough. That's what was the motto here. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Go on. There you are. Go and see what you can do. And that's where it's always been.
It's actually a really nice motto, isn't it?
Well, that's the way the Busby Babes, the Busby Babes and whatever. And if you're good enough, you're old enough. And at 17, especially going to Main Road, who Man City were a good side in them days as well. Bells, Summerby, Lee, Meg Doyle at the back, Alan Oakes and all, they were a good side. And for to play against them, 63,000 people there as well, and you walk out and you hear this roar, unbelievable. Obviously, no mobiles in them days. I couldn't tell my family, my parents, whatever. I couldn't tell anyone.
How did they find out then? The match of the day?
My dad my dad was a bookie in them days in Belfast, and obviously there was televisions about in the bookies, and he actually heard that I'd scored the first goal against Man City, and he thought, aye, what's happening here? And that's my son.
Didn't have a bet on you?
Well, and then on the Saturday night, I went to a phone box, and I knew the pub my mum and dad would be in, Glenturn Social Club, Football Club, Social Club, and I phoned them there, and I explained everything what happened, and they were over the moon. And my dad told me he heard it in the bookies that day, and he said he just like threw everything up and said, "My son scored for Man United today."
What was your relationship like with Busby?
He was fantastic. He was, for me, Manchester United, and this is why it is today what we've got. First thing that really impressed me with Sir Matt was that he knew everyone by their first name, from apprentices to the ladies in the laundry, the groundsmen, everything. People's partners, family, he knew them all by their first name, and he made everyone feel part of what was going on.
Yeah.
And I realised since I was 15 years of age, and even when I went away with the first team at 16, when I was sub and stuff like that, he didn't sort of come over and make a big fuss of you. It was just a natural thing. You know, you're here now, get on with it. And he was brilliant like that. But everyone talks about, you know, had he got a hard sort of way about him. He was always very immaculate, dressed immaculate all the time. But he would let you know if things weren't right. But the most things that always stick in my mind as well is before you went out to play, make sure those fans are entertained. They've worked all week, Trafford Park. They come to see entertainment. Make sure you entertain them. And I thought that was brilliant.
You was in a car crash as well.
Yeah,
73.
73,
was you? Well, you weren't 73.
73. I felt like it after the car crash, guys.
What was that about? What happened there?
I was actually going for fish and chips, 5 o'clock in the evening, fish and chips. And I had my partner at the time with me who was expecting a baby. And I'm driving down Chester Road, turning left into Cavendish Road, where my pal John had a fish and chip shop on the corner. So I thought I'll go down there to get some fish and chips. He used to look after me, John, with these fish and chips. And turning right, going down to the fish and chip shop, and this car came from the side, whoosh, into my side, driver's side. And that's all I know. Completely out of it. Unconscious for 10 days. 4 broken ribs and a punctured lung. Gone. Luckily, my partner at the time, nothing at all. Nothing. Didn't affect the baby or nothing. She was okay, but I was completely out of it. Completely out of it. And that's...
Did you ever think for any moment there, that's it, you craze over and...
Well, obviously, I woke up in the hospital bed, and believe it or not, one of the first times I woke up, I had Paddy Crowrin over me with Tommy Doc, and
to death.
and Paddy had brought the doc up to see me in the hospital in Davy Hume Park Hospital, and I could see them, Maisie, but I didn't know what they were saying. I was just completely out of it.
I could just imagine that.
It's a good job I didn't know what Paddy was saying.
Yeah.
You know, but that was that. And then...
How long did that take out of your...
5 months.
5 months.
But the other thing, Major, what you're talking about, that story is, when I got that car crash, I was told by one of the doctors that the fire brigade and the ambulance had said, leave him, he's gone.
Wow.
Look after the lady who's pregnant. I was told that when I was coming through from Park Hospital. They actually thought I was gone. Till I actually, as I say, I don't know anything about this. I can just remember waking up in the hospital
10 days
10
later.
days later. Wow. Yeah. But
what about your parents? Like, who told them at the time? Or
Well, obviously,
was that up to the
my
manager?
partner's mum and dad at the time would tell him, because I brought my mum and dad over after that. I brought my mum and dad from Belfast the following season, 74, 75. I brought them over because obviously one of the troubles and actually what had happened and stuff like that. And I brought them over. The club were fantastic. They bought the house for me behind the Stratford end, Colley Street. And I paid them back. But they bought the house for me and I paid them back. And because of I told them, because of the troubles, get my mum and dad over here, because it's not great over there. So the club helped me with that. But yeah, I think they actually, they found out obviously that night that because they hadn't got a phone, I don't actually know how they actually found out, but obviously it was in the papers the next day as well, what had happened. So they found out, and it was just tragic.
I can
at the
imagine
time.
as a parent,
I know.
waking up and reading the papers, obviously, that's it. It's the only way of finding out. Not knowing
Unbelievable.
anything.
But as you know yourself, and then there's with no mobiles
No,
or
God,
anything
no.
at all like that, you couldn't do it.
It's mad to think, how do you find out your son's just scored for Manchester United? Oh, I just saw it on the telly. Or how do you find out your son's in a coma? Oh, it's in the papers the next day. It's crazy to think that that's how...
Well, that's
life,
the way it
isn't
was
it?
in them days, wasn't it,
Yeah.
Sam? You know, as you say, no media like social media the way it is now, or mobiles or anything at all like that. That's just how people found out.